Hello everyone. Today it is estimated that the closest habitable planet is located a few light years away from us. If we built a spaceship reaching a speed of 100,000 kilometers per h, it would still take several tens of thousands of years to reach this planet. This means that unless we manage to hibernate the passengers, we have to consider an immense spaceship capable of carrying thousands of passengers for centuries and centuries, and it will be the descendants of those who have left Earth who will have the chance to discover a new planet. The ship must be designed as a habitat that closely replicates known conditions to the greatest extent possible. It is necessary in particular to reproduce gravity, but gravity, we know how to do that. Merely rotate the spaceship on its own axis and the passengers will be trapped inside due to the outward force of centrifugal force, resulting in a sensation of weight as if it were gravity. In the 70s, I read a novel that describes such a spaceship very well. This is Rendez-vous with Rama by Arthur C. Clarke, where Rama is the name of the interstellar spacecraft. So I used to dream that a movie would be adapted from this novel to have the chance to see the spaceship from the inside. To my knowledge, it has never been done, so I decided to do it myself. It's not about adapting the novel, I'll let you discover the story. It's just about taking over the overall aspect of the ship and its dimensions, and I named it Rama as a tribute to this beautiful novel. Welcome to Rama, for the study of centrifugal gravity. The cylinder is 66 kilometers long and has an external diameter of 18 kilometers. On each side, a large bay window allows you to see the space. An artificial sun is fixed on a large needle on each side. The needle can turn. The artificial sun can move along the needle to vary the interior lighting. With walls 1 kilometer thick, the inner diameter is about 16 kilometers, which is 8 kilometers radius between the ground and the axis of the cylinder. In the middle of the cylinder, inner sea is about 10 kilometers wide. On both sides of the sea, there are two stretches of land. We are positioned above the mountain moorland area. We will call it the southern moor. On the other side, the distant and flat moorland is cultivated. The cylinder completes one full rotation in 3 minutes. The centrifugal force at sea level is equivalent to Earth's gravity. At sea level, ground speed is about 1,000 kilometers per h. It's the northern moor. The Ramians give a name to the 3 dimensions of space. There is the radial direction, which they also call the vertical. Then there are 2 directions called horizontal. The first horizontal direction is the axial direction, parallel to the cylinder axis, also called the north-south direction. The second horizontal direction is the tangential direction, which they also call the east-west direction. When looking north, east is on the right and west is on the left side. With the introductions made, we will now study the properties of centrifugal gravity, this artificial gravity created by the rotation of this gigantic cylinder. There is of course an atmosphere inside, but to simplify, we will ignore its effects on the movements we are going to study. With almost 8 kilometers of anterior radii and a rotation speed of 1 complete turn in 3 minutes, the designers of the cylinder arranged for the gravity at sea level to be equivalent to that existing on the surface of the Earth. On Earth, using a scale, inhabitants observed that an apple has the same weight as on Earth. Newton discovered gravitation, also known as universal attraction. The Ramians do not speak of attraction, but of repulsion. Truly, the objects are adhered to the inner wall as though they were being pushed away by the axis of the cylinder. According to Newton's law, massive bodies attract each other inversely proportional to the square of the distance. As a result, gravity decreases slightly with altitude. For instance, at the summit of a 2,700 m high mountain, the acceleration of gravity decreases by just 0.04%. If you weigh 90 kilograms, you feel like you weigh 40 g less at 2,700 m altitude. It is negligible. What about in Rama? Let us go to 2,700 meters altitude with our apple and the same scale. We notice that the apple is much lighter, about 1/3 lighter. A 90 kilograms ramelin will feel as if they weigh only 60 kilograms. The decrease in repulsion with altitude is more pronounced than on Earth. If you buy a kilo of apples on Rama, make sure that the scale you are using is calibrated for the altitude at which you are located. Or utilize an old-fashioned weight scale, as the masses employed to balance the apples experience the identical fluctuations as the apples themselves. Ramian scientists calculate that the repulsive force that tends to stick things to the inner surface of the cylinder is proportional to the radius. Closer to axis, less powerful repulsive force. At 2,700 meters, climbed about 1/3 of radius compared to c. Centrifugal force of gravity decreased by 1/3. Centrifugal gravity is 0 along cylinder axis. An object placed exactly on the axis of the cylinder will remain indefinitely because no repulsive force is exerted on it. By attaching a ball to the end of a string, scientists observe that the repulsive force aligns with the radius of the cylinder. Check with laser beam, extends wire direction, beam passes through central axis accurately. When it touches the ground on the other side, it will be aligned with another pendulum wire. A pendulum is a reliable instrument that accurately provides the vertical direction of the place where one is located. Ramian masons can use a plumb line to build walls that are perfectly vertical. So for the moment, everything seems equivalent to what is happening on Earth, with just this difference that gravity decreases enormously with altitude. Don't worry, it'll get more complex. Dropping object from height expected to fall vertically following plumb line. Let's conduct experiment. Yes, that's what happens. The ball falls vertically. But why does the ball fall? After all, once it is no longer attached, there is no force exerted on it. The ground formed by the cylinder wall moves at a speed of 1,000 kilometers. The ball is still relative to the ground and also moves at this speed. When let go, following Galileo's principle of inertia, the ball continues in the direction of its velocity. So even when released, the ball continues to move at the same speed as the ground. As the ball now goes straight, it will hit the wall of the cylinder a little further. During the short period of time it takes for the ball to touch the wall, the cylinder continues to rotate. The point on the ground directly below the ball also moves. Since the two distances are almost the same, the ball touches the cylinder at this point. For the observer on the ground, the ball falls vertically. He says she falls under the effect of the repulsive force in Rama. On closer look, we see that the straight line segment followed by the ball is slightly shorter than the small arc of the circle under the ball. The ball should touch the ground slightly to the side of the center, a bit eastward. To verify accuracy, we'll drop a small ball on a target.
we will be able to measure this small shift accurately. Let's go. Indeed, the ball does not fall exactly in the center. She is diverted, but not to the east as we thought, but to the west in the opposite way. Why? The marble is located a little higher. It means that its speed is slightly smaller than the 1,000 kilometers per hour on the ground. It's also because speed decreases with altitude that objects weigh less. So, the small straight line segment is shorter than the small arc traveled by the target, but the ball moves slower than the target. And ultimately, speed wins. The ball touches the ground after surpassing the target. She seems to be veering westward and not eastward. This shift is quite noticeable. If ball is dropped from 2m, displacement at base is 3 centimeters. It's as if force is pushing free-falling ball west. The higher the ball is released, the greater the distance it travels from its initial position.
This force is known as the Coriolis force. The Earth also being in rotation, this apparent force exists as well, but it is much less noticeable. The best evidence of this force is the Foucault pendulum. Please watch or re-watch my video on the subject to witness this captivating experience firsthand. Contrary to our experience on Earth, in Rama, the Coriolis force is really very important, as we will see.
Dropping ball from stationary hot air balloon vertically, it deviates strongly to the west. By inflating the balloon, we see the deviation is strong enough for the ball to complete a full turn before touching the ground. As we get closer to the central axis, we realize that the trajectory of freefall is a spiral. Released close to center, ball spiral can make multiple turns before crashing to ground. In Rama, the danger of freefall is different depending on the height from which you jump. If you jump from a small height, the danger is the same as on Earth. You'll be deflected by Coriolis force, but a fall of several meters will be deadly, like on Earth. If you jump from a very high altitude, your vertical speed will not be too high, and you could potentially survive. On the other hand, you'll gain a high tangential speed, higher when jumping from a high point. You can try surfing by dropping yourself above the sea from the center of the cylinder. However, you will make contact with the water at a speed of 1,000 kilometers per hour. I am not a surfer, but I do not think it is possible to achieve such a velocity.
So far, as I said, we have not taken into account air resistance, which gives these beautiful spiral-shaped trajectories. However, there is an atmosphere in Rama. Therefore, how does it go for a parachute jump?
A parachute uses air resistance to slow down freefall. Let's imagine a parachute that limits the speed to 20 kilometers per hour. Air resistance in parachute fabric stops parachutists from gaining excessive speed. He doesn't gain speed via spiral of freefall. It's noted that it descends nearly vertically. Winds in Rama can deviate from theoretical trajectory. Coriolis force is proportional to velocity. With low fall speed, Coriolis force is small and trajectory is not too deviated.
The Ramines have grasped that the Coriolis force is proportional to the velocity. But in what direction? In which direction does the Coriolis force act?
Let's throw the ball vertically upwards. She ends up, of course, falling back, not at the starting point, but slightly to the east. Being curious, our ballistic expert gradually enhances the launch speed. Since the Coriolis force is proportional to velocity, the deviation to the east increases and the projectile falls more to the east. As speed increases, projectile gets closer to opposite point vertically from its location. If on the contrary, another ballistician above him fires a projectile vertically, the same thing will happen. Trajectory diverted east of launcher, but from ballistician's perspective here, trajectory deviated westward. Attention, for him, the projectile falls from top to bottom. The observation is thus: a speed upwards is deflected towards the east, while a speed downwards is deflected towards the west. The ballisticians of Rama eventually understand how the Coriolis force works. You have to imagine lying horizontally with your feet to the south and your head to the north. Looking in the direction of the velocity, the Coriolis force deflects the trajectory to the left. If speed is in the ns axial direction, Coriolis force is 0. Check by launching the ballistician instead of the projectile. During the ascending phase, he looks upwards, he is deflected to the left, to the east. When he descends, he gazes downward. His left side is currently facing west. He has veered significantly towards the west.
Let's envision a hypothetical scenario where a war breaks out in Rama. The inhabitants will throw projectiles at each other's heads to harm themselves. Entering into a war in a lost spaceship in the middle of space is not the smartest thing to do. However, we know collective intelligence isn't the human species' best characteristic. So let's witness the cannonball throws in Rama.
On Earth, a projectile experiences only one force, gravity directed downwards. The path of the cannonball will stay in the vertical plane with the initial velocity vector. The trajectory is a parabola. For high speeds and when high precision is needed, the Earth's Coriolis force must also be considered, which can deflect the projectile several centimeters out of the plane. Imagine Gunner from North Heath launching cannonball to South Heath using 45-degree incline, like on Earth, for maximum distance, just like on Earth anyway. The ball follows a parabolic path due to the repulsive force, but this path is deflected by the Coriolis force. Let's see where she's from. By heading in the direction of 45 degrees, the velocity has an axial and a vertical component oriented upwards. Axial component not deflected by Coriolis force since parallel to axis of rotation. The vertical component is deflected as we've just seen. During the ascending phase, it's deflected to the left and to the right in the descending phase. The result is this distorted S-shaped parabola seen from above. If he wants to cross the sea, the gunner must increase the speed of his cannonball. As speed increases, so does Coriolis force and bullet deviation becomes more significant. The gunner can attempt to correct the deviation of the trajectory by rotating his cannon to aim a bit to the side. It works with low speeds, but when the speed increases, it doesn't work at all. Indeed, by rotating his cannon, the gunner gives a tangential east-west horizontal component to the initial velocity. This direction also experiences the Coriolis force, adding a new source of deviation to the trajectory. To better grasp this effect, let's aim the cannon fully to the east. Things are not overly complex then. The projectile follows a curved trajectory that goes further the higher the speed. In this direction, the Coriolis force curves the trajectory towards the ground. Its effect adds to that of the repulsive force. Note well that there is no deviation on the side. The Coriolis force remains here in the tangential vertical plane. Now, let's point the cannon to the west. Coriolis force exerted in opposite direction instead of upwards. At low speed, Coriolis force remains weak and trajectory of bullet is approximately normal. As speed increases, both halves of the trajectory curve in an unusual way. There is a point when the cannonball loops back. Let's keep increasing the speed. The loop size increases. She increases so much that the ball returns to the starting point. The artillery profession is hazardous in Rama. If the speed escalates further, the cannonball will land behind the gunner position. By increasing the speed of the ball even more, the ball falls farther and farther back. An artilleryman has two ways to reach a point east. Either he aims east and hits his target directly, or he shoots west, relying on the Coriolis force to deflect the projectile onto its target. With the westward speed being lower, the gunner is in a better position by choosing the second option. He must calculate accurately to avoid the ball falling back on him. To reach a point west while avoiding a high launch speed, he must lower his cannon, aim lower, and the Coriolis force will raise the trajectory so that the ball falls further west. To finish with Ramian ballistics, let's represent the trajectories in all directions by gradually increasing the launch speed.
It's so complicated to throw balls at each other's faces that the Ramians quickly stopped their war. And to celebrate the return of peace, they organized a grand fireworks display. At the end, for the fireworks display and to better enjoy the curves related to the Coriolis force, I increased the effects of this force. I hope you enjoyed your stay at Rama. While waiting for the next video, I let you enjoy this Tramian fireworks. See you soon.